Okay, so we're on Daf Lamed Daled Amud Beis in Maseches Beitsa. We had a Mishnah that talked about taking different kinds of food, which, the way Rashi explained it, are slightly edible but not fully edible, so therefore, without your designating them as your food, they will remain muksa. Like anything that doesn't have a proper function, doesn't have a proper use. So since this was inedible, but it's becoming edible, it's kind of like a fruit that starts to ripen. There's somewhere in the middle that some people might want to eat it and some people might not want to eat it without your saying anything that's going to remain in the status of inedible. Mm-hmm. If it's inedible, it's muksa. You can't come along the next day and just say, okay, I'm going to eat this because today I decided to eat it. No. If it started out Shabbos as muksa, if you hold a muksa, we seem to be going with the sheet of muksa here, then it's a problem. But it'll only be solved, that problem can only be solved if Erev Shabbos you designated it as your food. And then you have a question between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim, how specific do you have to be if you have a number of pieces of food in the mix, and it's not clear exactly which one of them you're going to eat tomorrow? Do you have to designate very specifically which one in order to remove the status of muksa and make it non-muksa and make it edible on Shabbos? Or can you be a bit vague and rely on brera, the way Rashi explained it? Okay, let's see how the Gemora will now embark on this topic.
Okay, Tsama. So we looked in the Mishnah over there.
And over there we see on the side is Maseches Maisros. Right? So there's a whole Masechta in Seder Zroim, same Seder as Brachos says, that it talks about a whole Masechta how to do Meiser, all the different cases of Meisering.
Okay, Tinokot, Shetamnu, Tani,
Te'enim,
Erev Shabbos, so a child who hid away dates Erev Shabbos.
actually figs.
Oh, figs. I'm sorry, figs. Okay.
For some reason it's in the plural, but you're right, it could have been the singular. A child did it, but it's really plural. Children who have buried their figs on Erev Shabbos. Reminds me of what they talk about Erev Pesach. They say Erev Pesach you have to watch children, because the Gemora actually talks about it in terms of rats. But today we say, Baruch Hashem, we don't have that problem. We do have a lot of children who act like that. That if they see you taking all the chametz and burning it or whatever, they're going to get paranoid and they're going to hide all their chametz in a special hiding place. But children tend to do that. They tend to hoard things out of their imagined fear that it's going to be taken away. And they also tend to hide things, right? Children love to hide things.
Okay, Shachtu lo asu asanu, and they forgot to take Maisros from this. Wow, that's amazing. Children are expected to take Maisros?
No, I guess it means that the parents weren't aware, that therefore they forgot. Maybe they put out figs for their children to play with without meistering them. I know there are certain games that children play with fruit. Today they do it with the pits of peach or apricots, I think, called ajuir. Right? There's a whole game that children play that they collect a whole hoard. They hoard this stuff. I remember my kids had like bags of this stuff. This dried apricot pits called ajuir. It became a game. I don't even know what the game was exactly, but we had hundreds of these things. So you give them, let's say you gave them fruit. You put out a bit of fruit because you know they're going to play games with them. You didn't really think about eating them, but in the end of the day, they're food, and you should theoretically have meisered them. So if they forgot...
But if it's not food any longer, then it's not muksa. It's not, it doesn't require meiser.
First of all, it's not necessarily not food. Just because they buried it doesn't make it not food.
I'm thinking of the nuts that you're talking about.
Yeah, the nuts. The nuts wouldn't be the same exactly, because it's not really of food. It's just a pit. Yeah, the truth is, inside many of these pits have food inside of them. But okay.
Okay. במוצאי שבס לא יעמדו, אלא אם כן אסור. So on Motzei Shabbos, you're not able to eat these things unless they've given maasros.
Right. It seems like a pretty straightforward halach. In fact, not even clear what the HaKodesh is. Like saying, if you didn't take Meiser before, don't eat it before you take Meiser. Of course. I don't know what the HaKodesh is. But let's see in Rashi.
Tinokesh tamu tainim v'chita fix, besade, in the field or begino in the garden. V'achila Shabbos to eat on Shabbos. Shafu v'lo asu, if the God did not take up to the Meiser.
It sounds like in Rashi, even the children really had intent to eat it on Shabbos. But then I guess they caught themselves and they realized they hadn't meisered them yet.
Lo yachlu, you can't eat them.
Right.
Africa, even though the Camelon that we passed in later on, Ein ha'tevel mischaya b'maisa.
What's it, Rosh Hashanah?
The Camelon, right?
Oh, the common.
Correct?
What does Kaimalon mean?
Paskin later on, Paskin stable.
No, not later on. It means we hold. Kaima means it's established, long to us.
We hold.
Meaning we hold the halacha. So Rashan, even though the truth is we hold that the halacha is what?
Ein ha'tevel mischaya b'maisa.
Now that's a cryptic phrase. You're going to have to qualify that. But what is he saying? Officially, what is he saying in that phrase? What's tevel?
If you take Meiser off.
Tevel is fruit or vegetable which has not had Meiser taken from it yet. But he's saying that food that you haven't taken Meiser from it yet,
It's not chayiv.
it's not chayiv and Meiser. That sounds pretty strange, right? Why not? But Rashi qualifies it. When does it not need Meiser?
Achlai.
Keep going.
Achilas arai.
Oh.
Snack with it. We discussed this in the first part.
Yeah. So at this point, let's say they haven't yet been gathered up and put into the proper granary or the proper storage house where they would normally get stored for the winter or whatever. They just happen to be off the tree, let's say. They fell, maybe that's why Ta'anim are the good example, because they just fall off a tree. You ever go by Ta'ana tree, fig tree? If you go by all these green figs are on the ground, people often just step on it because you don't even realize just walking on figs. Because they don't even look like figs, they're green. They start out green and then they turn, I guess they ripen or whatever. So maybe that's why, because they fell off the tree, the kids took them and said, oh good, we'll eat them on Shabbos, okay. Now the truth of the matter is, Rashi says, could they have eaten them on Shabbos?
Yes.
Yes, why? They haven't been meiser. Because these children, if they would have eaten them, it would have been, what kind of an achila? Achila sarai. Right? Now, that means just a snack. When do you need to take meiser then? When is there a halach of taking meiser? Right? Is there ever a halach of taking meiser?
Yes.
When?
Eating for a proper meal.
But Rashi says even more than that. Even for a snack, there could be a point at which you're going to need to take meiser. Ad, in other words, you're allowed to not take meiser. Ad. Yes, now that's a special point in the production of the fruit. What is that?
Fully edible.
Read the words. Yira panei habayis.
That means the hat, the faces.
Well, it's not faces, because you're right. But the word panim is plural. So just remember, it's because it's like mayim, right? Mayim is a plural word, so when you talk about mayim, you use the plural, but not because you're talking about 20 glasses of water. You'd be talking about one little cup of water, you still call it mayim. Still call it plural. So you use a lot of words that are plural words, even though you're really talking about one specific thing. So here as well, panei comes from the word panim. Panim is face. Okay?
It was inside. Inside the house.
That's right, inside the house. Okay, now why do we talk about inside the house?
Because it's fixed, right? Once you take it inside, you know what you want.
That's like the last stage of harvesting the fruit, right? That you take it inside the house. So that's called the end of the line. That's like the end of the production of the food. Right? We talked about that once before. That when you finish the production of the food, that's when it's chayiv and meiser. Before then, it's not really chayiv meiser, if it's for a snack, etc. But once it's seen the inside of a house, which means I've gathered it up and I brought it into the house, because that's where it's going to rest, that's where it's going to sit for till I decide to use it. It's being stored in the house. Therefore, that's the last step of its production, and therefore what happens at that moment? It becomes chayiv and meiser.
Is that because no permanence now?
It's like maybe the permanence of it, or just the fact that it's like the final resting place. Like that's, if you want to know, have I finished sort of dealing with this fruit? Yes, that's the last step. So I think it's even learned from a pasuk, but it's also a bit of a logic, right? That when you finish producing, when you've done the final step in the production of a food, that's when the Torah says now you have to take meiser. Till then, it's not really a food, let's say. So this is the figs. You don't do really anything to them per se. You take them from them, you gather them up outside, and you bring them inside. So that is the last step. But being that it's the last step, so then we say, okay, you know when it becomes chayiv and meiser, when you've done the last thing. What's the last thing? I brought it in the house. So I think it's a bit of logic, but I do think, I remember from, I think the Gemora Bava Metzia talks about this at a certain point, and I think it does learn it from a pasuk, actually. But whatever. Okay. Oh, look, Rashi brings Gemora Bava Metzia. So Pnei Chatzar is like a substitute for Bnei Abayis, right? Bnei Abayis is like the ultimate. The ultimate is you bring it in your house, that's it. It's like found its resting spot, it's found its home, right? But Bnei Chatzar, it means that, this is where I've decided to keep it in the meantime. So it could also be considered to be the final point of its production. In any event, so either Pnei Abayis or Pnei Chatzar, what does that do to the fruit? It now makes it that it's chayiv and meiser, even if you eat it achilas arai. Okay? And Rashi brings a source for that. Right, which is just the name of the parak, but the point is in that parak in Bava Metzia, daf pei ches. Okay. Okay, just slow down. So that's where it talks about Pnei Habayis or Pnei Chatzar, there in Bava Metzia. So Rashi says a new thing now. What if it's on Shabbos? What if I want to eat it on Shabbos? What if I want to eat this food on Shabbos? Right? Is that called an achilas arai or achilas kavah? That's kind of what I think Rashi's going to end up saying. That yes, we have a thing here called achilas arai. Doesn't normally need meiser till it comes into the house, but that's only true before Shabbos. But Shabbos is so chashuv that it's like it's now more chashuv than normal. More chashuv than normal means it's already not just a snack. By the way, that's why when you eat kiddush, you have to have kiddush in a place where you may have a suda, right? You can't just have kiddush in the middle of nowhere, right? You have to have a makam suda. You knew that, right? That's why when you go to a kiddush, if you really want to be Yotzi Kiddush, you have to eat mazonos. Some people make a mistake. They say, well, I heard Kiddush, and now I'm going to have some herring, and I'll be Yotzi Kiddush. No, that's not good enough. And not just one cracker either. You have to eat a kazayas.
There's a couple.
4 people.
However much is a kazayas, everything's...
This much.
It depends on, okay, what kind of food you're eating and how big it is and all of that. But whatever kazayas is, okay.
You have a bit of that kugel, what do they call it?
Yerushalyim cookie, yeah.
Yeah, that's Sydney.
Yeah, that's usually a few Beitsa.
And then you get in trouble with your wife because you go home and you're hungry.
Yes, I understand. That is a big problem.
We usually go home and have Kiddush at home, so
Oh, yeah, that's what I do now.
the Kiddush at home and lunch.
Yeah, it's not social, but it works. You should have buy
Well, whatever happens, obviously you have to have an appetite for your Suda. But let's just get back to the point. So the reason why I brought it up was that it's a bit of an anomaly. We say that Kiddush has to be Mamakum Suda. Now, is one kazayas, let's say, of crackers a Suda? Is that a Suda? So that's the point. Normally that would not be called a Suda. Okay?
Even if it's a kazayas?
That's right. That's right. As far as I know, you can look this up if you want. If you're going to wash Natilas Yadayim for a Suda, okay? But you're only eating a kazayas of bread, you don't say it without a bracha. You wash.
Say this again?
If you, let's say you're on a diet, you say, well, I'm only having one small piece of bread because that's all my diet allows. And it's only kazayas. So even though, let's say you bench on a kazayas, you know why you bench on a kazayas? Because the Rabbanan said you have to bench on a kazayas, but it's not the rice, it's the Rabbanan. Unless you're completely satisfied, which most people aren't from a kazayas.
2 slices of bread, right?
Okay, so 2 slices would probably be what we call a Beitsa. A Beitsa, or actually a little bit more than a Beitsa, is a Suda. That is a Suda. But that's the point. If normally to be a Suda, and to, let's say, to make a bracha on Natilas Yadayim, you have to eat 2 slices to make it a proper Suda, that you have to wash Natilas Yadayim so you can make a bracha on Natilas Yadayim. So then how come on Kiddush, on Shabbos, which has to be in a place of a Suda, Ein Kiddush Ela B'Makom Suda, you can get away with a Kazayas. Kazayas is not really a Suda. Kabeitz is a Suda.
Oh, great.
Yeah, or Mazonos.
And you don't have to wash.
What are you talking about?
If you're having a sudas with like 4 pieces or 3 pieces of biscuit, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you don't have to wash for it, even on Shabbos.
Okay, but that's not the point. I'm trying to bring out a point. If to be called a Suda you need a Kabeitza of Mazonos or whatever, then how on Shabbos are Yotzi Kiddush with just a Kazayas? So it's based on the same concept that Rashi's trying to convey to us now. That even something that during the weeks is called a snack, but on Shabbos, because of Shabbos, the extra chashivas of Shabbos, every achila is called an achilas kavah. Even a kazayas. That's how come you can get away with eating kazayas at a kiddush.
And what about the after bracha?
Yeah, well, you always have to make an after bracha on a kazayas. Just like I said, even benching, you bench on a kazayas.
So we have 1 piece of bread, which is not a kazayas, but
If you have less than a kazayas,
if you have 1 piece of bread.
that's less than a kazayas?
No, it's a kazayas. No. 2 pieces would be...
If you eat a kazayas, you have to eat it within the designated amount of time. 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 9 minutes, it's different shitas, but... Okay.
Yeah.
So you ate the kazayas in the designated amount of time, you have to make an after bracha. That's a separate issue, after bracha. The Rabbanan require you made an after bracha. But I'm talking about this different thing now. If in order to be called a real Suda, it has to be a Kabeitza, to be a real Suda.
2 pieces.
Let's say 2 pieces.
Okay.
Or whatever, however much it will be. Each different pieces of food will be, you have to measure them slightly differently. But however much is a Kabeitza, you're not necessarily eating that much for Kiddush. Especially if you want to make sure you have an appetite for the meal. So how can you be Yotzi Kiddush? Because even that small kazayas is considered a Suda because it's given us extra chashivas because it's Shabbos. The Shabbos itself gives it extra chashivas. So that's what Rashi's trying to bring out, I think, over here. These children wanted to eat from these figs. Normally, you can do that without taking Meiser. When? During the week. Why? Because they haven't been brought home yet. They found Taining probably under the tree. Right? And they said, good, we're going to have a little food tomorrow. And they went and they buried it, right? That means they intend to eat it tomorrow as a snack. So, if it was not Shabbos, they wouldn't have to take Meiser. Wouldn't be Chayv and Meiser. Because it wasn't brought into the house. Or even the Chatzah.
So is this one on Shabbos, you wash your hands beforehand?
Wash your hands beforehand.
Yeah, eating bread. Sorry. Most people wouldn't have 2 slices, but even 1 slice would be enough to cover that bracha with a...
No, that's what I said to you before. If it's only kazayas, you do wash without a bracha.
So how does that happen? Most people would have, they'd wash that bracha, sit down, have a meal, they'd take a bit of bread, probably not 2 slices, and have 1 slice, even probably light bread.
Well, you have to find out. I mean, it could be even 1 slice today if it's thick enough is a Beitsa. I don't know.
It's very confusing for me because I often wonder about
What? Where are you going? What you would have done?
No, because because I'm not a big eater, so I go and I wash my hands, say the broth, sit down and have
Talking about during the week or on
No,
Shabbos?
Shabbos.
Okay.
Have a slice of bread.
Okay.
I'll try.
We said anyways, on Shabbos it is exuda, even a
No,
kazayas.
so that's what I'm asking.
Okay, so probably even on Shabbos, if you're only going to eat a kazayas of bread, you would probably still say an al until sidan because of the same score we're saying over here. That even though kazayas normally is not considered a suda, but on Shabbos it is. That's what I would say, putting it together with the concept we're learning here. But right now Rashi is focusing on Meiser, but I'm saying the same halacha applies to other halachas of Suda. So I think that's the point that Rashi is trying to bring out over here. These figs have not been brought in neither into the house nor into the chutzah. So they're not really chayiv and Meiser officially yet because they're still not been brought to the final resting spot. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But these kids intended to eat them on Shabbos. So you could say, did that intention to eat them on Shabbos give them enough chashivus that now they are chayiv and meiser? Because now you're not going to be eating a snack. A snack during the week is called a full meal on Shabbos. Kazayas is also a meal on Shabbos. And that's what Rashi is saying. Even though normally they have to reach the Pnei Habayis to be chayiv. And if not, then they're patur from Meiser if you're only going to eat an Achilas Arai. But Achilas Shabbos is Chashuva. It has its own importance. Even if it's Arai. Arai Shalah, a snack on Shabbos, it has a halacha being kavah. It has a halacha being a full-fledged suda. Right?
Yes.
So therefore we have this weird anomaly. The child intended to eat it on Shabbos. Did that give enough chashivus that it's chayiv and meiser already? We said when you're intending to eat it for Shabbos, that's already, now even a snack is going to be chayiv. And he did intend to eat on Shabbos, but he forgot. V'harei tomno, hutmanu, they were buried lachil Shabbos for the sake of eating on Shabbos. So the intention was to eat them on Shabbos. V'hukvu, you see that Rashi? Hukvu. What's hukvu? They became established, became permanent. They became permanentized, as it were. So Rashi's learning the very intention to eat it on Shabbos was almost like the fact that when you bring food into the house, they become chayiv and meiser. That itself made it permanent. That intention to eat on Shabbos already gave it a permanence, gave it a chashivus. So they're already chayiv and meiser.
So once it's in the house.
What?
Once it's in the house. So
No, even without.
so
Coming into the house makes everything chayiv and meiser.
Right, so once they designated it.
What?
Once they designated it.
here they intended to eat it on Shabbos.
Right.
That already gave it the chashivus of an achila of Shabbos, and automatically made it chayiv and meiser.
No.
So there's a lot of chidushim here.
Interesting.
Now, why talk about children? I mean, really, we're saying anybody who sets aside food for Shabbos already, even if it hasn't been brought into the house, it's as if it was brought into the house, and now it's chayiv and meiser, no matter what. So why talk about the children? So Rashi says, "Hi, dinakat tinokos." The fact that he mentioned dafka children in this cheshbon, that was like not necessarily true, because it could be true with anyone. Anybody who set aside food would be chayiv and meiser. But it's what? Revusa. What does that mean? Extra chiddush. Revusa means it's an extra chiddush. You'd really have a chiddush without that. Talk about a normal person set aside the food, and even though it never was properly brought into the house, it's still chayiv and meiser because it was set aside for Shabbos, which has its own chashivus. But he's saying the fact that it's a child, even a child can do that. That's an extra chiddush. Especially if you put it together with what I said before. This thing that he's doing is changing the status of this food, right? Remember we talked about before making a chalos? In a sense, he just made, by setting aside the food for Shabbos, he made a new chalos on the food. It's chayiv and meiser. That's a new status. That status in the fig is a chalos. It's a new status which is now in the fruit. It's chayiv and meiser. Well, who made that? So we're saying even a child's intention can make that happen. That's a big kiddush.
How does that happen? How does that happen if he's under bar mitzvah?
Because it's not like they don't have any ability to think. They do have certain ability to think. They don't normally have enough to change the status of the food. But it's sort of like they're saying it's for Shabbos, that they have the ability to do. Once they say it's for Shabbos, then it's like Hashem swoops down and he says, it's Shabbos food, chayiv and meiser. They're not making it chayiv and meiser. It's not like they're looking at the food and saying, I'm making this chayiv meiser. Then a child wouldn't be able to do that. A child can't make the chalos happen if he's in charge of the chalos. But if he's just, all that has to happen is that, I want it for Shabbos. Oh, this food's now heading for Shabbos. Rashi's saying, if it's heading for Shabbos, it's chayiv and meiser. But who makes it chayiv and meiser? Hashem. Hashem swoops down the Yerushalyim and says, that food's for Shabbos, chayiv and meiser. Just like if you bring it into the house. What if the child brings it into the house? Seems like doesn't matter who brings it in. Once it's seen that's the lashon of Chazal. It sees the inside of a house. Doesn't matter who brought it in. It's like the cat dragged it in, like you say. Who dragged it? Look what the cat dragged in, right? If an animal dragged in a sack of fruit and now it's in the house, I would say it's chayiv and meiser, even though no matter who brought it in. Okay, we'll have to stop here.